I'm is like a target. You know what I'm saying? So I have to be mindful of who I surround myself with and who I let come because I'm carrying that. You know what I'm saying? You come in there like one day this girl came in here and she's usually not like this, but she was just so negative, and I was just like, ooh, like I want to get out and walk out. You know what I'm saying? Because now I gotta try to shake that off when you leave, or try to, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm trying not to talk too much so I don't get that same vibration you get. But the people around me, I'm seeing the physical, like outcome of stress. Like, come on, strokes is preventable. Like when I saw finesse before that happened to him, like a day before, he was looking like that. But I thought, oh, he
Like
just tired.
like what? Death?
Yeah, like I saw him walking
Worn
out of
out,
the
maybe.
yeah, but I saw him walking out of the Jamaican restaurant Wanna. I was like, yo, he looked crazy. But I'm thinking you just finished laying some floors and it's the end of the day and you tired. But I think his body was already telling him like he probably felt away, but didn't know what it was about to happen. You know what I'm saying? So I'm mindful of people putting that on me because I'm like Brian said, I want to last. Like I don't want to stroke, so I don't whatever you arguing about. I'll be like, yo, you should chill. Like like it's certain limitations, certain stuff you can do, certain stuff you can't control. And I think me and Tiff I had a conversation about the change of life. Like y'all where I was and I'm where Aunt Denise and them was now. Like I'm on that cusp where I'm a lot wiser now. Like I'm seeing people just go and I'm like, oh, chill. You know what I'm saying? Like they just taking their life in directions that they can control. Like the health aspect. Somebody was just talking about, I know you said about like detoxing, but somebody I was listening to on a podcast and it was just like how, what they trying to accomplish or whatever, they change their day and their life to look like that. Whether it's exercise, whether it's I think it's the guy I was following on I Am Zero Turn. He's like a business dude or whatever, but he talks about
That
that. Like
sound like a little bit like Atomic Habits. I don't know if you read that.
Atomic Habits. I was debating whether or not it was either Atomic Habits or something that Gary V. Atomic Habits is that author that talks about like the 10 power, the 10. Right? Is that
I
him?
only know him for that. Nah, it was just like
No.
you make like subconscious decisions about who you want to be, what you want to do every day. So like you say you don't want to be a smoker or something, but you keep smoking cigarettes. So like every time you do an action, that's a vote saying you are a smoker. So like you gotta
Yeah.
I didn't even know
so you
that.
have
That's
a million
exactly what
votes
I'm
of
saying.
who you want to be.
Yes.
Subconsciously, like, you have to make these actions. You have to like, okay, I'm gonna wake up. I'm gonna go to the gym, or I'm gonna just eat something a little better, so that those, and then they just turn into. And now, fast forward a year, 5 years, you are who you say you are or wanted to be because you made those choices.
It's so petty sounding, but that's how I felt coming here when I saw oil on my new driveway because I was like, I don't like what that says about me. Like I want it clean and I want it precise and I want like that's a reflection of who I am now. Like I don't want that driveway. Like, but when you see people like like we watching podcasts and stuff, you see their evolution. Even like people are talking about like Gucci. There was like, does Gucci still have the tattoo or doesn't he? Like he changed so much, like he grew so much as a business person. We ain't even looking for the tattoo. We don't know if he took it off, lightened it or whatever. Like we looking at him as a different person right now, because and that's kind of where I'm at. Like I know it's clear to me now. Like that's not what I am. That's not what I want to do. That's not what I'm about. That's not what I want my brand affiliated or represented. So before it was like kind of hard. You don't want to hurt nobody's feelings. You don't want to. Now I'm like, nah, I gotta be here all day. Like I want to feel good. Like and I know it's a choice. So,
But that's challenging because, like, and I was even speaking for myself, like the relationship me and Brian have, we still close and tight, but we don't party like rock stars anymore, right? So there was an evolution in his life, and the same what happened with you when you was like, I can't hang around those people anymore because I don't want to be a part of that life anymore. But I also have decades of experience and relationship because it's still a relationship and there's still a foundation and a bond that you have with these individuals. However, where they want to be now is not where I want to be now. And how do I pivot and take a different direction and be comfortable with it? Because it's so easy to be drawn back in.
You just lessen your interactions because it ain't like you don't have some sort of history with them or connection with them. Like you said, you and I, we're not as physically close as we used to be in a sense where like we was always 3-4 days a week we was meeting each other, we was doing stuff, but we both see ourselves somewhere and we're getting there. So now we don't meet as often. Here we are today, but from where we were 5 years ago, like we've accomplished or we were moving towards where we wanted to be. So some of us think about just some of the other people that maybe didn't. You look at them now, like you might still hang out with them once a year or something, or run into them here and there, but they might not have been making choices that put them somewhere else. You don't got no less love for them. You lessen your interaction so that you can become who you want to be.
But like you were saying too about the atomic book, excuse me, which I didn't read, but you said you consciously making decisions every day. For me, it's more intentional. Like before, I think, I was just kind of caught up in it. It was the people I grew up with. It was the people that was familiar with me. But now, because the vision of, what I want is more clear, like I'm more intentional with what I do or who I surround myself with. And I'm more conscious of their intentions. I think, I'm not sure if it was like Gary Vee or someone that said that when they interact with someone, it's not the outcome that they're concerned with. It's like, what are their intentions. So we all know, mistakes gonna happen. People gonna kind of cross the lines, but was that your intention? So with me, being in the industry I'm in, and it's new and it's growing and stuff. Nobody's familiar with it because it's new, but at the same time, I always question somebody's intention. So for me, and I think one of you guys posed it in our conversation when you was like, if we're growing as business people, what are the 6 people that you're gonna surround yourself with? And we did that like a couple weeks ago. I still been on it. I think I came up with 3 people, so far, but that is so real and so true. And we know we hear it all the time, but y'all like reawakened it in me where I was like, you know what, that's so true. So when I'm looking, and projecting where I want to be in a year, where I want to take my business, it's true. Like I got to look at who's around me and what are my own self-imposed barriers to get in there. And my thing is, we here today, we doing this, we all business people, but we family as well. But me and Bryan just made a new connection here. But at the same time, what other new connections can I make to further me towards the goals? The old connections, like you said, they're going to be there. Yeah. But they're not helping me any longer because I don't want to go that direction. So I think that's like relevant.
Being people of melanated skin, right? We absorb light, we absorb energy. When we have negative or the wrong people around us, whether we want to or not, their negativity we tend to absorb. So like there was times we would have the mastermind meeting and it would get it would deviate or go off tour because the people in that meeting isn't coming with the necessary energy that's needed in order for the group to proliferate. In order for us to advance, we all need to be one accord because that negative energy that comes into the space is detrimental. That negative energy is going to throw the whole group off course. And now we're talking about what happened down the street. Or we talking about who's going to the club or what party and who's going to buy this and what. And now we're like, oh, we were supposed to be talking about numbers. We were supposed to be talking about sales and profits. And now your energy was so alluring for the wrong reasons that we're now having a wrong conversation. And I think that's why it's so important when we talk about those people that we have in our space is not only their intent, because we have to have our own intent, but being the not the puppet master, but the
conduit.
Exactly, the conduit, or the person that's the symphony, who's in charge of the symphony.
Yeah. I totally agree, and I don't know if you remember, and I kind of felt belittled by it because I don't like to tell me what to do. But when you said, remember when we first started, you was like, "I'll do it, but I don't want to talk about nothing down the street or whatever." And we even there was a couple people that we talked about having in, but I think I blocked a few, you guys blocked a few as far as what they were going to bring to it. And to your point, as far as us not talking about the numbers, I think that's something that, like you said, people of color and brown people, because we're so new to the business industry, we're scared of the numbers. You and Bryan have had to talk me off the ledge many a day, asking questions about the numbers. And I'm like, what? Just thinking you're not seeing my vision. We're in actuality, y'all was really trying to help me define and clarify my vision and make it make sense. I think one of the key things with people in business, they forget it's an activity to derive profit. So a lot of times, we go into it and we're emotional and we're this and we're that, and we're not thinking this is a bit every day we have to get up and make it make sense. And we've all challenged each other to the point where I know we didn't even want to talk to each other for a week at times, but then like you said, courageous enough to come back and be like, you know what, I thought about it, or this or that. Like I said, I don't always know the terminology, which kudos to Bryan because he knows a lot of, financial words and terms and concept. But I know the logic of it, being a hustler, and I know, what it means to, get the ROI you want and kind of set that expectation. So I think part of it is just the actual education in not being scared to look stupid.
Well, I agree with both of you guys right now, but I think a lot of it, at least between us, has to do with just the family aspect. So it's very easy for us to go astray, even when we're trying to stick to business, and then having to kind of reach one of us always be like, oh, now we kind of getting off course a little bit.
So true, because we have the the commonality, we have the foundation. But to piggyback off of what you were saying, I noticed a change, and it happens with everybody when there's exposure, right? When you went to Vegas, when you went to New York, and you would come back and be like, you would ask those dudes questions like, so why'd you want to open a smoke shop? And they were like, I don't care about a smoke shop. I see the profits. I see the numbers. I'm going to buy this at this price, and it's in demand, and I'm going to resell it at this. It's like, I'm not going into business with emotions where me, yourself, and I know I 100% went into the gun with all emotion, right? So I'm like,
I'm a person of emotion.
Even if this is, and it's like, it don't make sense. The political climate don't make sense. People said, I'm like, what do you mean it don't make sense, huh? And I'm constantly on the defense, and I have to check myself and like, you're buying that because that's what you desire, not what your customers desire. And I have to be mindful of how I allocate these funds and how I'm going to grow this business, because I can't buy this gun because I'm like, deep down inside, I really want to shoot it. And I'm going to try to put that out there and be like, you should want to shoot it as well. Allow the numbers to tell you just that.
You know what I think? And also to add to your point, I think it comes with the maturity. Like we said earlier, maturity as an individual, like you said, has nothing to do with age, but also as a business person. Like, I think if we were to have documented like our beginning stages to now, me especially, like I'm proud of myself, in no measure of any outside thing, but I know as a business person, now I do look at the numbers, now I do, like you said, follow the trends or look at, more worldly events. So kind of like what you guys were saying, you said as a family, we still talk. I think ultimately it's one conversation, because when I hear you guys speak, and I was listening to the other part of the podcast, I was just thinking like, look at what Granddad did, and it's a legacy that we lead, and sometimes we leave, but sometimes we forget about the generational aspect of it. Right here, like now with you having kids, this is going to be like 2-3 generations if we count Granddad or whatever. And I think that's what's so critical. A lot of times we start stuff, I've been trying to get you guys to follow, in business, all your life. So even though you took a different route, you're still in business, So as far as maintaining that generational wealth and maintaining, a financial foundation, we still doing it. We just taking a little different approach. And I think when you look at it from that aspect, it makes more sense. Somebody told me before, a mentor of mine, Marcel Vernal, he said, I asked him how was I doing, and he said there's a lot of moving parts. So I think now the parts are starting to fit together for us. Like, it's starting to make sense how you don't got to advertise my business, or I don't got to advertise yours. We're just doing business. You know what I'm saying? So in that, we're networking. In that, we're exposing other people. And like, this is what it's supposed to look like. We just didn't have a motto.
I feel caught in between you guys, and I'm probably perfectly seated. So, because your business is more sales, and I'm just like in real estate, but we all are still in real estate. But to your point about the generational thing, like, as much as I want to make money in real estate, and I'm much more intentional about that, making sure that the numbers are in my favor, but I know that this is for my kids, so I may not reap all the benefits. Like, it'll be for them, and that'll be enough. But then to your point about the emotional, do you struggle with that though? Because you're still, you're a gun advocate, you're a gun enthusiast, like you're everything guns, like you even say, but that's deeper than just when you say it. I don't know if everybody gets it, but my question really, like, when you say you gotta shop for the consumer, but then yourself, like, you got a collection, you must still want to grow that collection.
Yes, but I have to be strategic in doing so, right? I can't put my wants and desires before the business needs to. So I'm in the process of building a fully automatic gun. I've always wanted, but I know by my mentor in the firearm industry, Jada Shooter, who I met through Instagram, and he helped me accomplish the FFL. That his videos are going viral. Everybody wants to shoot a fully automatic Glock. Everybody wants to shoot a fully automatic AR. Why would I go and buy this gun when I need to be the market is telling me this is what people that look like me, this is what my demographic want. I need to hurry up and get that to market before I go out there and buy this I want the SIG P320 Legion that came out. It's over a $1,200 gun, right? $1,000 gun. But just like, how do I add exactly? Because I'm gonna carry that, and I'm not gonna want to allow my customers to shoot it. No, you can't shoot this $1,000 gun because there's no return on investment for this.
Just letting you shoot this gun.
fully automatic gun, you're gonna pay, if you pay me to shoot it, by all means. So if it, with time with anything like a car, it's going to deteriorate, right? The parts are gonna have to be replaced because now it's doing what it's doing a lot more often. I'm renting it out. Just like if you rent your car out, you become a taxi driver, you go Uber, you're putting more mileage on your car, more wear and tear. So, but now you're paying me to rent it out. It makes sense. So now I have to, when I'm up at night and I'm making those decisions and I'm looking at the numbers, I'm on QuickBooks and I'm like, sales are this, and I'm like, my expenses are this. Am I buying this for this purpose? Just like when I went to Vegas and Utah and did the trainer's course, I know that there's been over 10 students who's like, can I get my Utah permit? So now I have to invest in becoming a Utah instructor because the return on investments is already there. Yeah. I'm just telling them, please be patient and still be my student rather than going somewhere else and obtaining that service before I obtain my credentials.
They got to be patient, you got to be patient, and then you'll still get what you want later.
They don't have to be patient though.
They can go somewhere else. They can go somewhere else. But as long as you stay patient, you can still get what you want.
No, and I can't be patient. I have to be tenacious. I have to be aggressive. I have to be
patient in your wants for yourself. I mean, like you said,
yes, absolutely. I have to put my wants to the side, right? Because I have touched more guns and owned more guns than I could ever shoot at one time. Yeah. I'm just feeling an addiction almost at that point, right? Certain things that we want, and like my addiction has always been guns, but it might have been shoes at one point in time. It might have been this. So if I'm fueling my addiction, I'm neglecting fueling the bigger hierarchy of what all this. Yeah. So that's where it really starts to make sense. But if I don't have, as a businessman, if I don't know the numbers, if I'm not sitting behind that computer at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and tirelessly trying to take some pennies from here to put into my personal piggy bank to get that gun, I'm like, nah, customers need, right? Because it's retail at the end of the day. I'm providing a service. Yeah, I have to put that need because that's going to then, once that cup runneth over, and now there's a surplus of finances or funds, and now I can put that back into personal, right? Once I'm able to start paying myself more frequently or more often, the customer needs are met. Now the business needs are met, and now myself. Like I was listening, and it's so crazy because so many people have different philosophies with business. They say you should always pay yourself first, and then the business pays for whatever. And then there's the other people that challenge it. Like I'm a huge fan of Shark Tank, and one of them was like, "You paid yourself $70,000, and your business is struggling. You mean to tell me your company made $250,000 and you paid yourself a salary between the two of you? That's 50% of the business gross profit.
It's a fine line.
It's really, you got to kind of sit back and check yourself.
Somebody else
Are you worth the 70?
Are you worth this?
Yeah, because if you were,
you wouldn't be in that situation asking for another.
It's nuts, right? Because
I think it's the myth versus the reality. Like you said, we all went into it with emotions of the myth. Now this is the reality of business. Like sometimes if you pay yourself, there's no money left, for anything else. So I think, like you said, we got to be honest. But part of being honest, and I'm a huge proponent of education, is being educated to what your industry holds. And I was just thinking, like, as you were talking about the whole mastermind group and, kind of why it broke up, it works for us because we're still in motion. So if you're, it's just like if you're running, shooting a target, as long as you're running, I could critique you at every step, kind of like, the cameras that change speeds and shutters with you. But if you're still, it's nothing to critique. So I think to speak, some of the members that kind of lost their enthusiasm, like it's hard to critique when you have nothing. Like we're out here, like I was just kind of like asking myself, as far as my profits, I thought, I was over the hump for certain things and they were at one level, and within the last month or so, they're kind of like going down. So I'm asking myself, is that something I can control, or is that like part of the market because it's being so saturated, So now my problem, as far as in my head, what I need to figure out is which is it, So if it is something I can control, what's going to be my strategy? What's going to be my action plan? Which, I call y'all all the time, just to get feedback, from the outside looking in for the objectivity. So I don't think enough people want that. I think they want to give themselves like an attaboy, like, oh, I did this and this is so much or whatever. I'm doing good. No one's saying you're not doing good, but in order to maintain or grow your levels, like one of my new things was how I wanted my business to look. It looks now, but I'm not going to just be happy and stay there like, oh, yeah, I got these businesses and they're cash flowing positive. I want to take it to the next level, which means I need new goals and new strategies. And I think that's where people kind of get stuck. So.
Lately we've been talking a lot about time, right? And it wasn't until a year ago, and I realized that time is the most precious asset that we ever had, and it shifted all of our relationship, right? We started having meetings and putting real constrictions on time, where you and I would speak for hours. When you were going through what you were going through, when I was going through what I was going through, we would speak hours at a time about life, unfortunate circumstances. And then until we had to check ourselves, like, oh, hold on. We was on the phone for 2 hours. I'm not picking up the phone for her tomorrow. I'm not picking up the phone. There's no way that
he acting funny. He acting funny.
I'm not picking. And I was looking at him like, no,
funny.
because I know what's going on. She's building this business, and she's going to drain my whole resource with Osmo. I don't care enough about Osmo for you to be taking 2 hours of my time. That's your responsibility.
Yeah,
hire
you
someone,
figure it out. Yeah.
Whoever you sleep with in your bed, whoever. That is not my responsibility. And I was looking at them like, I have to go to work. So when she
like,
called,
okay, but one more thing.
Again, that's the family aspect of it, though. Like we use each other to mastermind, and it works. But it's a double-edged sword also, because it's very easy for us to overshare.
But I think we've been holding ourselves more accountable. Like I
or
said,
having to hold you more accountable. Right?
Yeah, oh,
because,
for sure.
Because you dominate a conversation.
Of course. That's just my personality,
I'm like, yo, I called you for something. I asked you one question, and now I'm talking about Osmo.
But you know what I do in part? Because I'm thinking as I'm talking. I didn't think about it before and then call y'all. I'm like, I'm going to just think this out as I'm talking to him or whatever. You talk about pivoting. I've been pivoting before COVID. Like, just constantly like, okay, he said this, now watch. I'm heading with this or whatever. So, I mean, like I said, it's been a growing process, but I'm happy. Like, I'm super excited because I'm like, I feel like this is what it should be. Like you said, the mindless conversations about stuff that don't really matter or whatever. Like, I'm in it. It's happening. Like, the moment is now. Like, good or bad. Like I said, mess ups, whatever, mispronounced words, all that. Like, we doing it, So, to me, I'm just like, okay, one more day down.
There's a huge amount of growth as far as learning and crazy amount of investments. I was like, oh, that wasn't like when I spent hundreds of dollars on t-shirts and thinking that just because I am who I am that they were just going to sell immediately. And I still got those t-shirts today.
Build a brand. You got to build a brand. And that's the part that we don't like. Us being here now, like, I'm looking at your shirt or whatever, and I'm like, yo, that's dope. Because it's how you really dress anyway. It doesn't look like you made a shirt for this. This is who you are, the same with Bryan, the same with me or whatever. Like, you have to make it the worlds merge so that you can, like you always say, I am my brand. Like, you are your brand or whatever. So when people get me, they don't get a scripted version. They get all of me, the passion, the loudness, the energy or whatever. And, the benefit of my experiences. And I think the people that we follow give the same thing.
Yeah, facts. But I don't know what we look like as far as time and what the budget.
We got 23 minutes.
Let's keep going. All right. So, as I digress on that topic, I was also thinking about how do you really compartmentalize your emotions with the business? Like, what makes you get up the next day and pound the pavement again? Like right now I'm
Bryan
like,
into
okay,
that.
like I said, I'm trying to build these 2 guns, and I put a time as far as when I expected to get done. But then again, last night I was looking at the numbers, and I'm like, ha, ha, and it motivated me. The moment I got on my phone, I was like, bro, I'm ready to build.
Yeah.
Send me the money. I'm ready to build
Yeah.
your other. I was like, I got those. My distributor just hit me up. The parts is in place. Another person, I was like, the ammunition's in stock. So now I'm like, because I know what I have to find a way to generate this income. And the same with you when you took that trip to New York. You was like, yo, this is hitting right now.
Yeah.
I don't care what y'all saying. I got to meet dude face to face. And you drove to New York. You were, what was it, Harlem?
Yeah,
You drove to Harlem.
Harlem,
Was like, I stopped everything. I called somebody and said, I need you to run the shop. And you took off to Harlem. And he was like, I forget what the product is.
Yeah.
And you came back with it. And you became the number one provider and number one sales in Connecticut for that particular item.
Yeah. I think you gotta get in the trenches with it. I mean, for me, and I said I was gonna let Bryan go first, but just as far as what gets you up, like again, to Marcel's point, you know, one time I was just like putting mad money into the business, and I was like, how do you know when it's enough, or what? He was like, did you accomplish your goal? Like, then it's not enough, you know. So for me, you know, a lot of people say like I put everything into everything I do, and it's true because I know how I want it to feel. I know the experience I want for you to have. And like you were saying before, I switched from being a major consumer, which I still am to some extent, to being one who wanted to provide those services. So I know I have people like come in the store like, yo, I love you. I'm so happy you're here or whatever. Like, to me, that's my reward, and not for, you know, the attaboys or the kudos, but to know that I'm providing a service for people in need. You know, a lot of times, you know, and you've heard it said a lot of different ways, the people that provide the service to us, they don't know what we really need. They just somewhere sitting behind a desk or whatever. To my community and to my population that I know them. I am them. So I know what you need, and I know how you want to be treated customer service wise. I know your price point. I know, you know, what you can afford, what you would like. So to me, all the knowledge that I had all my life now makes sense. Now I'm able to monetize on it. And I think a lot of times people miss that. They go with whatever they think is the current trend, or they go with whatever they think they should be selling. Oh, Bitcoin, let me do this or that. You know, not saying that it doesn't have its own validity, but is it the right thing for you, or should you be the one delivering it? You know, with you, like you said, you've been loving guns all your life, so you would be the best person to teach guns. You know, to Bryan, you know, as far as, you know, and I'm learning you're more of a family man than I knew, you know, but you know, we each bring our own value to the products that we choose. And to my mother's credit, she used to always say, like, you know, you don't choose the hustle choose you based on your strengths. So I think not totally playing to my strengths now, because I think I have a lot more marketing and branding, you know, potential when I step back. And me and Bryan were discussing it, coming here, you know, finding people to run the shop so I could be a little bit more hands off. But this is my industry, you know, this is my life, you know, this is what it's always been. I'm just now getting money from it and less pain, more fun and reward and less pain. So
Yeah, so for me now, obviously, it's just the kids. So,
Yeah.
like Moni was just saying, I'm much more of a family man than she knew, than maybe even I knew. But I felt like as far as real estate and being a buy and hold investor, that I was just getting by. But you know, some luck and some just haven't made the right connections along the way. But now it's definitely much more intentional. The moves that I'm trying to make now for the future is for them with real intention to hit check marks at certain ages of their life, so that the money can be there regardless of what happens.
A conversation that you weren't privy to, that me and Money was having without you partaking in it, about you. It took some, because it seemed like it happened abruptly. Like, it was just like overnight, oh, Bryan's having his first child. Let's see how he's going to...
second child.
And let's see how he's going to adjust and adapt to it. And then I took some time and I was like, Bryan is Uncle Teddy. Bryan is Aunt Millie. Like, you are literally a spitting image of it. And I think once you walked into that light, that's what you accepted, you embraced it. You might not, this might be freaking you out because the way you're looking at me, like,
yeah, you know,
I don't,
like,
nobody
bro,
wants to be like,
chill.
wait, I'm my parents.
You heard that?
But you have the 2 kids, you have the foundation of a strong relationship, you have everything that they have, and you walk through it confidently.
Yeah, no, I like. So I am. It's
Like,
strange to
I'm
hear.
blushing,
It's
yeah,
strange
I'm
to hear
blushing.
you say it and then like really realize it. But yeah, and I accept it. It's a good thing.
Mhm.
But then, like I said, I've you two were talking about your parents, and it's I grew up a little easier in that respect. But I know that they wanted the best for me, and I want the best for my kids. But so having it a lot easier than you two almost is like, if I think about it this way, it's like, oh, so I have to try even harder to give my parents better to give my kids better because my parents gave me so much. Well, I was talking about my mother and put me on credit. That's like one little thing. But for me now to do that for my kids, but then like, okay, what do I do next? How do I do that? So that's my drive when I say I want to make much more intentional moves in real estate and in life because I want them to have it better than I do. So my parents set the bar high for me to make that bar, like to deliver that to my children. Like I got to give them so much more than my parents gave me.
How do you find the balance? Because I won't even attempt to requote it because it was so dope that I would do a disservice. But they were saying strong men make strong sons and make they make their life a little easier. But if you end up making their life so easier, you create a weak man who falls back on hard times. I think that's the.
I've
to
heard
paraphrase
that. Like,
it.
I know what you're talking about. So it's just was it like hard times make strong men? But
Yeah,
then as it goes
exactly.
down, it's like so you try to make your life better for your kids, but then do they struggle? So I'm my kids are young. I don't know how I'm gonna take it, but as a parent, it just I think it kind of hits you innately. You want to do the best for them. Like you kind of that's on the back of your mind too. Like I don't want them, weak or whatever, but you don't want them to have it hard in any way. Right? You just want to make it easy for them. But then I also want to I want them to have a memorable, a happy childhood, and then I want them to just be. I mean, I want to have them set up.
Little grit.
I want a little grit, but I want to have them set up financially from my end. I want to know that it's there, but then once I'm comfortable with that, it'll be easier for me to make them work for it. I just want to know that nest egg is.
I'm gonna try to answer my own question because I just had the opportunity to sit here and think about it while I was listening to you. I think you have to instill the same morals, principles, and values that Aunt Millie and Uncle Teddy instilled into you, which was instilled into them by Granddad and Aunt Millie's parents.
I think he's like the opposite. I mean, I know you're giving your mother credit for saving, but I don't think you're anything like him in a lot of ways because when we talk about risk tolerance, like you stepped outside of the box crazy. Like they would have had you just be middle class and just be safe. I think you
I
did
think
a lot
just,
of unsafe stuff.
But I think that they allowed me to. I think they would just.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like
Unconditional love.
people say. You might have heard people say like, oh, you got to get your family away from you in the sense where you want to grow. They might be the first people to tell you, oh, I don't know if you can do that or if that's not a thing. My parents were very. When I tell them I want to go buy this property, it's like, okay, go ahead. Like there was no negative. I actually remember telling you one time and bouncing an idea before I bought the 5-unit, and you were probably my biggest resistance and was like, I don't know if this is gonna work. Are you like really just?
But think about it.
And not resistance in a bad way, but like really making sure I ran through the numbers first.
Yeah.
And I still kept with it. Like I didn't take that as a no. I actually took that as like, okay, let me make sure I did run the numbers right.
But think about it. When you came to me originally, if I remember correctly, the financial tactic, if you will, that you were going to use, it was unfamiliar to me.
No, it was
so
a very
like you
creative
said,
structure.
but like you said, with your kids, you want the best for them. You're my little cousin, so naturally, if I don't know something, I'm like, nah, hold on, that sounds like it could be a scam. Like, check it out, both ways. But that was something that was out of my level of understanding. And when it worked, I was like, oh,
But see,
it worked.
You delivered it. I think Andrea made a point earlier about your way of delivering stuff. So it wasn't even when it was like a no, it wasn't a bad way. It just made me think about it because you just said, no, you didn't know it. So that could have somebody else that didn't know it could have put their fears on me. And you didn't. You were scared, but you kept your fears more to yourself and without putting them on me, and just made sure that I went about it the right way.
Yeah, no, I think like what you guys attempted, like it continues to not only amaze me, but inspire me in a way that, and I know Andre has shared with me conversations that we had about, him being inspired by certain things with you, but I'm just like, oh, y'all trying that? You did it with that amount? Okay. Like I said, it raises the bar. So now I'm just like, okay, so now I need to get more out there in the arena, learn some terms. You got us to join CT RIA, kudos to you. But and really like, okay, we was there, but look, I could show you something else and, level up more and more. And I think it's important, and I think we all probably deserve a pat on the back for being open to it, even when we didn't agree or were uncomfortable with it. Even like when we had the meeting at the multifamily James, when we met up there, like, a lot of times we kind of like trusting in each other that this is a legit thing to go to, but I think we all learn each and every time, just seeing the different faces of how business could be done, and just also, like you said, exposure not only to things in our industry, but also things like in the world, as far as, we know how, and, me and your father talk about it all the time. Like, granddad was a sharecropper, and he started, as a maintenance man, and his what could have been seen as a deficit as far as him only having a third grade education turned into him overcompensating and bringing me to the bank with him since he was 8. So me having a financial background that you attribute to your mother, I could attribute to granddad unknowingly. Like, I didn't want to go. I'm looking at it like my mother getting high and now they making me go and don't nobody else got to go. But when I got older and got in the streets and money came into my hands, I say instinctually, but it was learned, knew what to do with it. Whereas other people was like, well, what would make you say that? And I had to, oh, well, my grandfather did this, or I know, when he retired, he brought me to a retirement investor and come with me so you could read the papers. I'm like, I don't care. I didn't work nowhere or whatever, but I went and I knew. So when I started getting to them levels of money, I kind of knew, oh, they exist. Oh, go there. And I know you and your family, your parents use investors as well. Yeah. And we've talked about, financial consultants. So sometimes you do what you know. And if you don't know more, the best of intentions, you don't know what to do. You know what I'm saying?
It's funny you said that because I just had another childhood memory. So, I unwillingly had to drive in the car with you at times, and it's like, here, count this money. No, don't look at it, count it. Matter of fact, look the other way and count it. And now you're talking about counting thousands of dollars, and then there's times where you get, hey, I need you to do me a favor. What is it? I'm about to start. We're not talking on the phone. Here, take this. I need you to count it all and tell me how much it is. And I'll call you back, and I'm or not call you back, or send you some type of message and be like, you know how much money that is? He's like, I know, but I need you to tell me how much it is. And so when you come into something like that, it's like, I would have never thought that skill set matters to the point where I see people when they be like, flip some coins in there, and they can tell by the way the coins hit the ground of what denomination it is. And I'm like, I'm just saying what, like, I just sit there and I'm like, some of the algebraic equation, even though I'm a school teacher, some of it, I was like, but I know money. I understand how to, and I know I know that you could tell me how many tens are in the 1,000, how many 20s are in the 1,000, and I know, and I'm like, because I did it repeatedly over and over, and if my number didn't match your number, I had to recount it again, and it's like, who's right? And it's almost like I had to advocate for myself to tell you that my count was more important than you. Like, okay, then such and such short me.
Mm-hmm. What was the guy we used to read? Remember the books we was reading for a while where he said like the Outliers and Malcolm Gladwell. Yeah. But he talks about that, like the repetition, and a lot of people look at the end result with whether it's Bill Gates, whether it's, whoever, Beethoven, they said, like, but when you look at anything in order to achieve mastery, you have to have over 10,000 hours. So basically, me giving y'all the training, even in Quan's situation, people was like, do you think he can handle? I was like, yeah, my brothers can handle anything, but I know what I trained y'all for, all the times, like you said, it didn't make sense. Y'all playing chess, y'all running 10 times around the house, me knocking stuff off the table to get your reflexes right, y'all attention to detail. Like, it all matters in whatever industry you in, in your industry, in your full-time job, in different business endeavors that we all done. And we catch each other like, oh, you didn't, do this or whatever. I told Bishop today about the train your eye to see straight with the radio, so little things, but we all like piggyback off each other now because we have that as a skill set. And those are, I went to a conference one time for education where they said these are the soft skills. So why are people getting education, getting degrees, and still can't manage to operate in the workforce? Because they don't have these soft skills. It's not like, me. I don't know any algebraic equations. I don't even care, but at the same time, I have certain soft skills that, like you said, I'm going to get it done. It might not be, and me and you have talked about this, and you're like, well, that's not the way you do it, and it's not the form. I'm like, yeah, but I can compare this to something else I did, and I flip it backwards, and I turn it, and this is just like that. And I come up with it. So, it lets us know that it's power in what we already know. And one of my biggest things was, when we get in different arenas, business arenas, people try to discount what you know because it doesn't look like what they know in a formal way. Like, there's been times when you came to see me and you're like, oh, I took this course, and how do you know this? Because I've read these books. you got to know how
you said
you
that earlier,
learn.
and that's exactly what I was thinking about when you said, "Oh, if I know a term, but you already know." And it was, I do remember a couple of times where I was so excited for some information that I learned, and I brought it to her, and then just her like kind of reiterating it back to me in her own language, like, damn, I felt like I was about to finally like one up you, like I was about to bring it to you didn't know it, like she knew it, but
you
I
got
must
to
not
make
have heard
use
it
of
when
the
she told me.
time.
Because of the delivery.
Yeah.
A lot of it has
Yeah.
to do with the delivery, and I was going to even say when we were speaking ourselves, I had to get to a point with money as far as separating her from a parent to just being sister, because I took what she said as
Bible,
right? This is you're giving me a command, and I need to abide by that command. Nigga, I don't need to abide by it.
I just when you hit a
No,
certain
but,
age, it's like,
no,
all
but
right,
even with me, like I had to step back and let you be a man because I was just like, okay, he's being disrespectful, or he's, and with you or whatever. So, like we spoke about earlier about the transition of ages, I went through it with your father, with granddad or whatever, and now I'm going through it with y'all. But it makes me like the proud parent because I'm taking credit for everything, But to see y'all, because I'm like, I had influence in that, but to know that y'all do got your own mind. Like, I'll call Bryan, like, oh, he's not seeing it my way. And I told him, you know what I'm saying? And he'll
then
talk
to
me
not,
off the ledge.
to not even agree with, like, she might have thought I was about to just be like, I don't know, you guys, I'm gonna show you from his perspective real quick.
And you always offer that. No matter, even if I go to
Yeah.
money, you always offer that objective perspective. And because even when she was like, when I was in my situation, she was like, you better not buy that house and allow that other name to be on that house. Like,
And granddad.
this chick. And don't get me wrong, in the grand scheme of thing, she was right. But if she gives you that same advice, I would say that she's not right.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't make sense. It makes
once
sense.
you're on the outside, when you're in it, it's that emotion
Exactly.
gets tied up in it.
And sometimes you have to get a bird's eye view to see where the information is coming from and why it's coming from. I now know as an adult, it came from a point of one, experience, and two, and caring, right? If you didn't care, you let him learn the hard way.
Yeah,
But,
and that's a hard lesson to learn.
Because I've done it, because he done it. I've seen in countless, even though.
But there's no right or wrong. Like Bryan said, you care about your kids, so you want the best for them. Y'all are basically my kids, even though y'all grown men, but I want the best for you. So I can only tell you from my experience, as did granddad and as did, whoever tells us. So like I said, y'all grown now, so my thing was, people have the idea of a think tank. I think we're like a perfect think tank because he's nothing like me. You're nothing like him, so we offer that different perspective that's needed to get the full picture because sometimes he come to me and I be like, he's just stupid. You know what I'm saying? But, like you said, through talking to you or whatever, but he thinks very analytical. He thinks very, not to say that he's not emotional, but he don't think with his emotion. You almost think like your mother, in the terms of like black and white from a numbers point of view. So I add the worldliness to it. You know what I'm saying? And you probably a middle ground in a lot of sections. So I think at different times we all wore different hats given a situation. And I think it's a balance. And I think, like we said earlier, when you surround yourself with people, you want that balance, whether it's in business, whether it's partnership for your family or whatever you want.
I want to say right now, though, before we get a little further, I'm happy that all of us, but you two especially, have grown a little bit so that I can bounce ideas off of you and I don't have to lessen my interactions in a quote unquote negative way. I can still, time or space might take us apart when we're growing, but then I could still come back to you guys for information and I have to be like, they're not really doing
I'm not going to call him.
Because even with the, like I was saying, with the Mastermind team, when we did that, there was a time where recently I felt that I outgrown the group. And I was ready to depart. And it was like, nah, this don't make sense. Like, I'm not getting anything out of it. I'm now being exposed to people who are making serious and have businesses that are successful. And I feel like certain people aren't coming to the group with the information
maybe
or
the format of it or whatever, but like just still us being able to come back, like we get what we need out of it in this way now. That kind of just died out,
But I think sometimes too, you got to give people a chance to catch up and don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I don't mean that it's your job to carry us or anyone, but right now you like submerged in it, which at times I have been, you have been or whatever, you kind of taking a back seat because of the kids right now, but you doing it every day, every day, every day, every day. You know, even your interactions, you know, with you know, doing the YouTube, doing the podcast, whatever. So right now, you're bringing us to that point, you know, and I think we've all did that at some point or another for others. So like when you say you outgrown us, sometimes I think it has to be one person who has to lead us, you know, like you said, when I come back from shows, I'm like, look at this, or, you know, I grabbed a couple cards when I went to Mohegan Sun the other day for you, you know, for partnerships with different things that pertain to you. But reality is we don't all have the time or resources to do it all the time during those periods of times. But I think if we continue to build like this, you know, network now, we have one more to our group, so to speak, as far as, you know, something new for us to engage in, you know, try to create content for, you know, our respective platforms or whatever. And I think that's what the mastermind part was missing. Like, and I always remember somebody saying, when they were younger, like, you know, everybody has a cousin that they beat up on or they make fun of, but as you grow older, you never know who's going to take the lead. Right now, you're taking the lead. You know, we would have never thought, you know, Bryant was going to be the father. You kind of switch roles right now for you guys. You know, I'm still kind of a little bit in the background or whatever, but you have to be mindful when those two people left the group, you know, the few people we try to initiate, the group reformed. So, you know, and hopefully it'll continue to, you know, reform in a way that, you know, whether we bring somebody else in or, you know, whether we take it to another level from this, it can continue to grow and continue to feed us, which, you know, I kind of think it has.
Cool. I think that wraps it up. Yeah. Crazy. Charlie always said that. I'm always trying to stretch it out.
Drink water.
That's that though. How does the production work? And then does it? I know you back there.
This is
your
gonna
brain
be
is
amazing
working.
to
I
see.
think your brain's back there working.
Yeah. No, I love the sofa vibe.
Yes. Okay, I can't wait to see it. So when do we get to see it?
I mean, I'm like cringe
Look,
about it, but
look,
I don't really,
I'm
like,
just
cringe
like,
about it, but
I know, because I hate my voice. I hate seeing myself or whatever. So this is
All right, so I'm back again. Andre from Bullseye LLC, gun manufacturer, fabricator, designer, uh, do a little bit of gunsmithing, all wrap it up, everything guns. That makes it simple. But now I have to the left of me today is my cousin and best man. The reason I wanted to bring Bryan onto the show, and I'll allow you to introduce yourself in a moment, is because you play a role into this business that you probably didn't realize, and I'm gonna have to make sense of it today. But before I do that, I want to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself.
Yeah, so like you said, my cousin Andre, I'm Bryan Anthony Brown. He just asked me to come here and talk with him about his business and how I play a part in it, and I'm here for it.
So I named this segment of these two interviews that I'm doing today is Meet the Family. And the reason I named it Meet the Family is because my family is a huge asset with resources, information, whether it's physical or just intellectual. And Bryan, you have been that in multiple encounters, whether it's passive or whether it's intentional, through my journey and growing this business and taking it to the next level. Resources come in all different types of forms, whether it's financial resources, whether it's intellectual resources, or even just discourse, right? A lot of times we spend a lot of, especially prior to your transition or your evolution, we spent a lot of time together. And during that time that we spend together, it always at some point in time came full circle and we started talking about money and finances. And one thing that I've always felt comfortable about you with you disclosing is finances, because you always had this discipline about yourself when it came to financial restraint. And so I wanted to, if you can't talk about it, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll tiptoe around it and then I'll allow you to elaborate. So every February, and correct me if I'm wrong, you do a detox of some sort. So what is that? What does that mean?
That kind of just started with when I was still living at home with my parents, and one year they was always sort of healthy, not health nuts or anything, but one year they just decided to do a detox. I was still living there, so I kind of did it with them. And then ever since then, when I moved out on my own, I just took it. I just couldn't. I was still, younger, having a little fun, bars, this and that. So when January came around, after the New Year celebration, I wasn't ready to do detox. But in February, I would just start my own and just kind of reset my clock for the year. Just, get my body right, get my mind right. Just kind of came along with it, get back in the gym, but just kind of start my clock there. If I hadn't already in other months, if I felt like I was falling off, that was just a way to get my year back going.
Well, I'm laughing because I'm thinking we party hard, and when I say party hard, we party like rock stars, and people don't understand what I'm saying because they look at me now, and they probably look at you as you transition into adult, more of a. When I use the word adulthood, I'm using it in the sense of maturity, not age,
I know.
because we were adults, but we were partying like rock stars, and I'm talking about 7 days a week, no sleep, and it's like, let's see how much of whatever we're gonna get ourselves into. And I don't detox during February. I do different types of fasting at certain times of my life for spiritual cleansing and for spiritual clarity. But there's times I was ready to turn up in February, and you're like, bro, I'm not drinking. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. I'm not partaking in anything. So my level of respect for you to go, and I always picked with you about, of course you're going to detox on the shortest month of the year, whether it was 28 days or however many days that play out in February. But the mere fact that you would go, and I think it still continues to this point in your life as well, that everything stops. Like, it's like cold turkey, and you're able to do it. You can party, and then it's like, bam, February comes and it just stops.
Yeah, and once I stop, it's like, February's the shortest month or whatever. I just do it because it followed January, like I said. But it'll carry on. Sometimes it's 2 months, sometimes it's 3. It's just like, it's never really, I need to, like, once you stop and you start going, you find out your life is getting better, or you're more focused, I guess. Mm-hmm. And then you pick up a beer here and there and you kind of fall off in a sense. But it's definitely a good way to reset and yeah, I do still continue it though. And I usually for the month of February, though, as far as liquids, I just only drink water. I'm getting to be a little bit of a coffee drinker now. That I'm getting a little older, but yeah, so it's just mostly water and some coffee now.
Makes sense. There's times we vacation out of the country together multiple times. We took day trips together, and there's hours where it's just you and I, and we're talking about manipulating. And when I use manipulating, being strategic with credit card spending, manipulating our income. And again, when I say manipulate, I mean being strategic with purpose.
Yeah.
Spending with purpose, purchasing with purpose, saving with purpose. And you always had a vision and always had a goal of what you were saving for and what you had to deprive yourself of in order to accomplish it.
So I hear terms now like delayed gratification is like one I hear a lot in podcasts and stuff I listen to, but I didn't realize that's what it was then. I think I got it from my mother early on. She put me on her as an authorized user on a credit card when I was like 14. So she's probably where I got most of my financial expert from. Like, well, not expert, but where I got what you see in me, I got a lot of that from her. So I didn't really know it then, and I'm still learning and growing, trying to figure it out. But I can look back now and realize that's who I got my better financial skill set from. I still do a little bit of reckless spending, and I can attribute that to my father probably more so.
and it's cool because, like you were saying, and I watch a lot of different financial or listen to people talk about financial tricks. And I don't want to say that it wasn't there because you obviously discovered it from some way, and I discovered it from you, where we used to talk about, and you can give the terminology to it of how we pay. When you talk about having multiple credit cards with different credit limits, with different debt variations, of how you went to accomplish of eliminating that debt in a period of time, and literally accomplishing that.
It's a few different ways to do it, but as far as how you had just said before, like the depriving part of it, like, but once you set a goal and you know where your money's going to, it's very easy to accomplish. So if your money is just, you're setting that savings goal just to pay down debt, it becomes just as easy. Or if you think it a little further and you're trying to figure out how to pay some down while still trying to manipulate it, how do I get this money to grow bigger in another way? I accomplished my first single family flip rehab, buy it cheap, fix it up, sell it, back in 2019, 2020, and I used a lot of lines of credit and credit card loans with 0%, 1% interest rates for 18, 24 months. But again, all that goes back to my mother having put me on as an authorized user at 14, so my credit's just been built up since before I even had to start at it.
Shout out to Aunt Millie.
Yes.
So, right, that's the plug. And let me say this. More black, stable, whether stable or not stable, parents need to do exactly what Millie did.
And I have two young sons now. One's about to be 2 and one's 4 months. The 2-year-old already, Isaiah, he's an authorized user already at 2 on my card. So that just actually gives me a little more drive not to mess up my credit.
So help the viewers understand why that makes sense. If they don't understand why putting a 2-year-old or a 14-year-old boy who's reckless, who's going to eventually become a rock star, on your credit card as an authorized user.
I mean, you got to be disciplined enough in yourself and know that you can't just be screwing up because you'll tank them, and it'll probably take them, be harder on them when they get older. But we live in a world where credit is, whether you like it or not, is beneficial. And when you can use it, credit as a tool. So it's just, if you can use it the right way, it can boost. Like I said, I was able to complete a flip, and with $40,000-$50,000 worth of repairs, majority on credit.
Mm-hmm. Which those are financial tricks. So I'll give you a few seconds or whatever, however long you need to talk about what you do. What is Fix and Flip?
So, Fix and Flip is just a business a friend of mine and myself started up. She came to me with an idea. I kind of already had it in my head that I wanted to do one. She came to me and was like, all right, let's just partner up. And it just, it just naturally evolved, and we were able to start a business with it. But I'm a landlord investor for 10, 12 years now. So that was kind of a natural progression. 2 kids just came along more recently, that kind of right around COVID. So everybody, I just got more into family now. So the business slowed down, but definitely buy and hold long-term real estate is my main goal, but I am still trying to grow Fix and Flip as a business.
So you acquire properties?
Acquire them cheap, fix them up, sell them. Yeah.
Makes sense. And as we're going through our lives as young adults, I mean, you were talking about we have been around each other pretty much our entire lives. Where we played video Dreamcast together, we played PlayStation. Like right after the, I used to pick me up in the morning, and I would skip school, and we would be the first ones in line, sleeping outside of GameStop and GameSpot, whatever they were called.
Just got a couple looks off camera, but that was just a couple occasions. But we all grew into responsible adults, so it worked out.
So that's how far back we go, and when I birthed Bullseye LLC as a business, it came with financial responsibilities. And anytime you start a new venture, it came with financial responsibilities. And I was figuring out, how am I going to make this dream or this vision in my head work? And you had just acquired those properties with no money off of all credit, and you gave me a gym. You was like, cuz, you called me up, there's such and such, meet with him, talk to him, you're going to fill out an application. And with that blessing, I was granted $75,000, which took my business from here to here. And now that I have established business credit, the goal is now to take the business to the next level. And it was because of having that relationship with you. And that's why I say I attributed a lot of the success, because without that $75,000, I don't have the finances to invest $10,000 in guns or invest in equipment or tools, safes, anything that requires marketing, advertising, all that stuff that goes into it comes from an extension of that line of credit, which is why I brought you up here to show you and to give you to honor you and saying thank you for giving me that opportunity to allow my dreams and visions to come to fruition.
Yeah, I mean, I never really thought it through on your end, so I'm just happy to have been able to.
So let them know where they can find you, what you do, if you whether it's social media, website, or whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, you can find me on Facebook, Bryan Anthony, BryanAnthony. You can find me on Instagram, There's Still Time, THERES _ still STILL _ time TIME _ so 3 underscores. There's Still Time is just kind of always something I've been saying since I was younger, usually related more to like late nights and longer parties, but now actually it's funny that I still use There's Still Time. It's just the progression of my life. Like I can still accomplish anything I want. You can, because there's still time. As long as I'm here, I wake up every morning, I can do something more.
That's dope bar, because it didn't make sense when I looked at it as and it's crazy. It didn't make sense when I looked at it as your Instagram name, but subconsciously you've been saying that we would go on vacation, we would be partying like rock stars. You'd be like, all right, we got 3 left.
There's still time.
There's still time. And then we was in Canada. There's still time. Mexico. There's still time. And I'm like, but I don't want it to come to an end. Don't think about it like that. There's still time. And then we would just go through life. So that's definitely a dope way to go through life. Even if we're thinking about accomplishing goals.
Yeah.
Right? Until you're dead, until it's completely solidified that it's over for you, there's still time.
As long as I don't stop, I wake up every day. As long as I want to do a little more, then there is still time. So as long as you don't lose your drive, your passion, you might have some days or times where you feel a little down and don't do as much, but as long as you keep pushing forward.
I'm about to steal that and spin it into a bar. So if anybody out here watching this podcast or watching us talk, and you have any goals, dreams, aspirations that you have yet to accomplish, just know that tomorrow if you wake up, there's still time. And I'll leave you with that.